Integrity High School of City Ministries. Vision driven, loving Christ. Voice for greatness, integrity. Pledging for integrity in one accord. Loyal we are, fervent zeal shall be carried to the end. Praise the difference, integrity. Integrity is who we are.
My name is Amina Autazenke. Welcome to Integrity High School. I'm the senior prefect of Integrity High School. We have educated teachers and they know how to teach very well. I love library because every student in every school love library. They love to read books. If you just enter the library, the way it looks like, the structure, the beauty of the library, it will motivate you to remove different kind of books to read. It's not every school that have the privilege of having computer lab. And whenever we need to use the internet, we just go through straight to the computer lab and we get some information like knowing many things about what we need to know or what the teacher wants us to know. Science or physics need practical, so it gives us the privilege to know, to see it physical, not only to the teacher to just start explaining and just go, but we see it, we do it practical, as in we practice it, and the lab is well equipped and well built. So home economy lab too, we like it, and because it has every equipment that home economy lab supposed to have. Whenever a teacher wants to teach us about the particular food, so we just bring the we are just going to the computer home economy lab. They will do the practical and we'll be seeing every student will have the opportunity to see how they used to make the particular food.
Loyal we are, fervent zeal shall be carried to the end.
The reason why I love Integrity High School is that by hearing the name, it sounds better than the rest of the schools around here. They teach about Christ. Mostly the religion, they take it serious.
So when I came to the school, I saw that the compound is big and beautiful. And what I'm being taught here is what somebody's being taught in SS1.
When in my former school, we're like up to 56 in the class, but here we're 13. The school have more facilities. I have a vocation, which in my former school we did not have.
Some of the girls has chosen a few of stages of program, of vocational program, like the salon, tailoring, and baking. And right now they have went for their work experience. Recently, some has practiced on the center leaders' wives' hair, who who were having program with Auntie Nicky, while the tailoring have made a dress for the girls at Gero Care Center. And those that are baking have recently baked a cake for Auntie Nicky, which we have all enjoyed.
Loyal we are, fervent zeal shall be carried to the end.
The Integrity High School has brought a lot to this community. It has developed the community, and most of our youth have been employed to work here, both in academic and non-academic session.
Makaranta ma ban da shi sun doke yarana sun sa makaranta sun biya ma yarana makaranta. In ba ta dalilin zuwan su nan ba da yaran suna na haka.
Ya zama da kawo ilimi daure wannan makaranta, domin wannan makaranta yana da sha'awar sosai, yana na daban da sauran makarantu, domin bishara yana haɗe da shi.
Loyal we are, fervent zeal shall be carried to the end.
My name is Alex Moses. I'm at the Bassa Center where we have girls, and what I do here, I help them in times of farming. I try to teach the girls how to farm, different techniques of farming, because our purpose is that at the end of the day, they don't know where they will find themselves after they leave here. So farming could be one of those things that could help them in life. Crops are very expensive now in the market, and so we want to be sustainable with that.
Royal we are fervent you shall be carried to the end. Praise the difference, integrity.
And I came to the ministry 2013. That was when I was 6 years old. And now I am 14 years old. When I came to the ministry, I was not able to read, write. They made me to go to school to learn how to read and write, to learn English. And they also impacted my life spiritually. They helped me to know God, to always believe in God, to trust in God.
I came from a Muslim background and from a broken home where a girl child cannot go to school. Going to school for a girl child is an abomination. But I thank God for the life of the ministry that they rescued me from that place and they also accept me, love me, and welcome me well.
Due to circumstances of me losing my parents, they took me in and give me shelter, teach me the word of God and everything, not in the aspect of school, but in the aspect of farm. As you can see, outside our home, we have a green plant growing. We appreciate God because by September, it will be done and we'll harvest it.
And I'm grateful for God using the ministry to impact so much in me by taking me to school, making me to learn handwork and many things that I couldn't do when I was back there.
Girma, girma, girma.
Girma dalo kakane mukao.
Kirby abo.
Zanya beka de garaya hadamolo.
Girma, girma, girma.
Girma dalo kakane mukao.
Kirby abo.
Zanya beka de garaya hadamolo.
Huraka ho.
Huraka ho.
Mi rede ya ba musabo, rede ya ba musabo. I had the molo. Can't you see? He has made my life so beautiful. 'Cause he gave his son who broke the chain and set me free. Oh, Ishari, how I am. Give me a brighter day. What more can I say that you are amazing every day? Kaine wakana de kurfina de madugarana. Sanya bika de garaya har the molo girma girma girma.
Girma dado kakane mukao.
Kirby abo.
Sanya bika de garaya har the molo.
Girma girma girma.
Girma dado kakane mukao.
Kirby abo.
Sanya bika de garaya har the molo.
Say muraka ho, muraka ho, the mire de abamasa. Ready.
Pardon? Okay. Yes, they are great. Okay, thank you. So I hope you can see some changes in the last 2.5 years. When I went back 2.5 years ago in June, the school still wasn't, there was no plaster, there was no windows, there was no doors, there was no furniture inside. So we very quickly tried to get all of that established. And then gradually over the last couple of years, we've made sure that every classroom now has got something in it and of the labs there. And as you can see, we've now started to take children from the local community. And we just took in 20 just for this new term. So we should have about maybe 50, 60 children from the outside community that we also can share the gospel with. And we can influence them with and we share our resources with them. And we hope to do that much more so that they're paying fees to come to our school, which will help our children to go for free eventually. Um, so that's the Bassa part of our ministry. And people are always asking me, well, how does it all fit together? And why Bassa? And Bassa particularly has been my passion because I'm really into teenage girls. Not everybody's into teenage girls, I know that. So in the Bassa Center, we have capacity for 52 teenage girls. So at the moment, we're maybe 45, something like that. But there are different parts of the ministry. So I'm just have a little PowerPoint that I'm going to take you through so that you can just maybe understand it a little bit better before you can ask me any questions. So John, could you put the PowerPoint on? Oh, I've got to press it. There you go. So first of all, to say City Ministries. City Ministries is the umbrella that the children's ministry comes under. It's one of the arms of it. And City Ministries recently, just in September, turned 25 years. So our ministry has been going in Nigeria for 25 years. It started very small. It started with one of our missionaries feeding some street children every week. And it's now grown to, we now look after 350 children each and every day in our ministry. So this was a celebration. There's some of my fellow missionaries there. And the boys, I don't know whether you can read their T-shirts. It says, "Praise God for giving hope to the hopeless." So they just had a big celebration, and that's what that is. So where do I click? Okay, there you go. So this is King's Kids is the children's part of City Ministries. And if we start over here, it kind of like goes in a cycle, our ministry. So we have an assessment unit where children are brought to us once or twice a year. And we check out all their stories. We listen to everything. We check out the pastor, and he's brought these, or this granny, or whoever has brought these children to us. We hear all their stories. And they stay there for about 6 to 12 months in small numbers because they're often not discipled, often need to be taught how to wash their clothes, how to look after themselves. Maybe they have some basic numeracy, literacy, that kind of thing happens there. And it's just like an assessment center. So if the stories don't check out, or you'd be surprised at how many people lie to get their children in because poverty is such a big thing. So sometimes we end up sending the children back from this center. Most of the time they would stay there. And after about 6 months, they then pass on to Gero. That's how you pronounce that. So Gero, I didn't mean to do that. So Gero has about 110 children at the moment, and it's our primary center. And we run our own school there, own primary school, primary 1 through to 6. And we've got both girls and boys in that center. Now that is in the village. That's about 40 minutes from Jos, down a very rough dirt road that at this time of year is impassable. It's just completely muddy and full of water. And so to get a vehicle down there, it's like going on ice. It's very difficult. But the children, they're all living there and do school there, and they're reasonably content. It's in the village, so they can just be children. And there's not many other people that live in the village. So they have a good time there. So they can stay there anything from 1 to 6 years if they go all the way through primary. Sometimes the children are reconciled back to family members after maybe they've changed their behavior considerably, or maybe an auntie gets married and decides they'll take the orphan, or whatever. There's all sorts of different reasons, but some of them don't always stay for the 6 years. And then once they hit the end of primary, we split them. So the girls go to Bassa, the boys go to this thing called the Leadership Training Center. So at the moment, we've got about 70 teenage boys there, and we've got 40 to 50 teenage girls in another place. We split them for obvious reasons, but we do the similar kind of programs, and we do get them together. We do social activities and things like that together, but we don't want them living under the same roof at this stage. So we have an Integrity High School. We just opened one for the boys as well as one for the girls. We're 1 year ahead with the girls. and the boys have now got a new school starting there. So we're calling it Integrity High because we're trying to do things as we would like to make a difference in Nigeria. Everything is so corrupt, including the education system. The education system is one of the worst. Everybody cheats. Nobody bothers to learn anything because the teacher will stand up in the exam and just tell everybody the answers. So many children go all the way through school and they still can't learn they still don't read and write. So it depends on the quality and where you are. So that was one of the reasons why we felt compelled by God to start our own school, to try and make a difference. So we don't allow cheating. We encourage people to learn to study. And that's why they like to have books. And really the children love to do that. And they're not compromising. But in most of the schools, it's like that. The government school local to us has over 100 in every class. So 100 children. So if you are not coping very well, you don't learn anything. They just copy down what the teacher is writing on the board. It's very rote learning. So we're trying to be different. We're trying to have small classes. We're trying to be creative in the way that we teach. But we're having to train the teachers because people are not taught like that. The teacher training is pretty rough there. So that's why we like to have people come and to invest in our teachers and to train them, help train them, because they need it. They need it. So after that, the children could leave when they graduate secondary school. So a lot of them do leave at that point, either to independence, or if they're not ready yet, they come to what's known as the LEH, which is Life Experience Home, which is like a halfway home. And it's something that we've started in the last couple of years. I don't think we've quite got that right yet. Trying to get the balance right between giving them a little freedom, but controlling them. We have workshops that we're trying to train them in tailoring and salon and making shoes and things like this to give them those skills to send them out. So the bit that's missing in my mind, we need a little bit on the end here. We need some sort of business or something to employ some of them to go into. Because if you're an orphan, you haven't got family to say, I'll get you a job here. And in Nigeria, a lot of the whole of that middle class bracket is just not there. You have very rich people and then the majority very poor. And there's no factories, there's very few opportunities for people to have employment. So you have to make your own. So you'll see loads and loads of little shops and people making things. And that's how most people function. So we want to do something after that we can actually employ some of our children to go into, or at least help them to live better. So I just put this on here just to show you a little bit about where I'm talking about. So like this, can you see it says Jos up there? This is Plateau State there in the dark line. And around the edges, you'll see some blue arrows. We also have some outside centers, what we call outside centers. And those are all for boys, no girls. And they range in size from about 16 children to about 40. So that's why we have 350 children when you add up all of these other ones together. But all of the girls come to our girls' center in Bassa. So if a girl comes into the Lafia Center, they would automatically come to us. We try to specialize all of our programs and everything to meet the sexes there. And then this is where, roughly, it's not perfect, but this is the Gidambege headquarters in the town. And then Gero is here and Bassa is right up there. So it's about 40 minutes from the town to Gero and 40 minutes from the town to Bassa. But they're opposite ways. You can't really do both in one day because the roads are not great. But that's roughly where it is, what we're talking about. Am I clicking? Oh, right. So this is our Bassa Center, frozen if you like. So you can see that the black roofs are our hostels. That's the bit we built first. We have 2 identical hostels, and the joining bit in the middle is the house parent accommodation. So anyone's going to sneak out has to go past the house parents. In theory, that should work. We've got these gazebos at the end here because African girls love to do their hair. Every single weekend, they're combing out their hair and they're plaiting each other's, and they just spend a lot of time sitting in these gazebos, talking, and fiddling around with their hair. So definitely need some outside space. And then the building at the back is our kitchen dining room. We've got like a big area where they all sit and have their food. That's because it's designed by a British lady who wants them sitting at a table rather than just having food in their rooms. I don't like that. So, and then you can see at the back we have our orchard, and we grow bananas, mangoes, lemons. What else are we growing? Papaya. Lots of different things like that in the garden. The idea was that we gather things and we sell them, but as soon as those girls see that there's any fruit on there, they grab it and they eat it. So anyway, we're working on that one. But bananas grow very well because there was a river all around the bottom there. And so we've just been trying to expand our banana plantation. Because if you've got 50 teenagers, they eat a lot. And I don't think we quite thought about that when we moved here, just quite how much food a load of teenagers eat. It's quite a lot. And then that's where our school is. So it's very close to us, as you can see. And then in between is all farmland. And then because of COVID, we had to build a greeting gazebo. So any visitors, they all meet there. Because before we used to have them into our house, but we didn't want people coming in and spreading germs to us. So we built this little greeting gazebo out here. And then you'll see this says staff housing. And then this shop has now got a roof on it. And it's actually, we've made a little provision shop here that the girls are running to try and get a little bit of business sense going there. And by now as well, this is an old photograph, and there's now goats in that little courtyard there. Much to Ian's disgust. But anyway, there are some little goats there. And then this bit at the back, that's where we got our fish and our rabbits and chickens and things like that. So it's quite a big area, but we're using it pretty well, I think. And yeah. And you saw as well on the video that we bought the bit of land over the wall down, and then we built. So God just keeps giving us bits and bits and sort of expanding as we go. And I don't know what for yet, but there we are. So after that, so in case some of you are thinking, what is a transition home? What do we do there? We farm. Now, I know you've heard a lot about farming. I know Ian has told you a lot about farming. This is our maize harvest. We've just harvested this, like, in the last couple of weeks. And I think it's going to be the best maize harvest we've ever had. We're getting the hang of it now, which is good. So the girls, as well, we hire a couple of farm hands, but the girls do a lot of this as well, and they've just been harvesting it. I think we should have maybe 6 months of maize, something like that. We hope that we've grown. So we will have to buy grains at the end of the year, but we're getting better at producing more and more maize. And then in the dry season, we do a lot of tomatoes. Tomatoes grow very well in this particular area. So we're just trying to work on what we do with all these tomatoes when they all come ripe at the same time. That is a bit of a problem. So last year, we started doing some bottling, like canning. I think definitely this year we will improve on that, and we'll be sending these things over. We've taught the girls how to do that. I've taught the girls how to do that. So we're trying to give them as many skills as possible. We're also learning how to keep animals. This is our fish setup. You might recognize it. It's similar to one that we have next door. And then this is emptying the fish out. The girls tell me that they like the fish biting their feet. To me, I'm not standing in there, but that's what they like to do. And then we have rabbits. Now, we've been having a few problems with our rabbits, but now they tell me that they're producing quite well. They're supposed to produce loads, but they have to get the conditions just right. So we've been experimenting with that. But now they tell me they're having to build more cages because we've been producing, which is good. We want to be able to eat them, but we also want to sell them because the diet is mostly rice and carbohydrate. So we've got to get protein somewhere, which is why we got the fish and why we've got the rabbits. And we do have chickens. I just haven't got a picture of them. And we're starting with the goats for that reason as well. So, okay. Oops. Yes. So we also, in our transition house, do discipleship, which is like Bible study, small groups of Bible studies, and we do encourage them to learn how to pray and how to grow in their individual faith. They're teenagers, so you have to make it relevant and interesting and applicable to them. But they're not really, they are like teenagers here, but they are a little different too. So we also need to do a lot of what we call life skills. And this is what hopefully parents would teach their teenagers about how to live in society. But obviously, because these children are orphans or vulnerable for some particular reason, they haven't had a lot of these things. So we do a lot of discussion, video-based, and this is my baby. I love to do this. It's like teaching a whole class. You have like 60 of them all together. And we do things like love, lust, sex, pregnancy, abortion, pornography, addiction, all these kind of topics. And we also encourage the children who come from outside to join in as well. So it's not just our own children. So they're also getting a lot of these teachings. I try and find lots of videos and make it very interactive. And we do a lot of discussion and trying to think about how you manage these things, because it's a very male-dominated society. And girls are fair game, particularly if they're orphans or they've not got anybody to protect them. They need to know how to protect themselves, and they need to know what they're walking into. And so we do a lot of things about trafficking, self-image, addiction and what that's like, how you get in, all those kind of things, to try and help them not to fall into those things. We also teach them how to look after the house. We don't hire cleaners. They do all the cleaning. They do all the washing. Every morning, everything is swept within an inch of its life. They love to do that. They sweep all the outside. They sweep all the inside. They mop everything. As soon as they get home from school, they're all washing their clothes. We use a lot of water, we discover, because these girls always want to be washing. The boys, it's not quite the same. But the girls are really into that. So, we also do trauma healing, which is a huge part of our ministry. And people are always saying to me, well, how do you get these children? And what are their backgrounds and where do they come from? So I've just put a few little pictures here, just to give you a bit of a flavor of some of these girls and where they come from. So if I start over here with Mary and Sophia. Sophia is underneath her, and she's her older sister. We also have, the girl in the video is also a sister of theirs. They all come from a Muslim family. And because they're girls, they're expendable. In the north, where there is a lot, their father has something like 30 children. He has about 5 wives. And so he just is really interested in the boys, not particularly interested in the girls. So these 2 girls and the other one were sent away at the age of 6 to go and live with people, to become like house helps or slaves, really, in people's houses. And neither of them had a good end. So Mary is now the one at the top. She's about 13, 14, and Sophia is 18, 19, something like that. Sophia at the bottom lived in about 5 different houses before she came to us. Her education has been completely messed up. She really struggles to read and write because she's not had any consistent upbringing. She was just used as a bit of a slave, and when she was exerting herself or saying, no, I don't want to do this, they would pass her on to somebody else. So she's fine. She came to us about 2 or 3 years ago, and she's now going through a vocation program because her level of English and writing is just very, very low, and she's not able to catch up. Whereas her younger sister, she was living in a reasonable family, but at the age of 10, I think she's about 13 now, at the age of 10 she got raped by the security guard in the compound where she was staying. And the madame where she was staying didn't respond very well to her, and it happened several times. And the man is now actually in prison, actually went to court and is in prison, which is a miracle. Most things like that do not get prosecuted. But this poor girl has to keep going to court and telling her tale over and over again. So the trauma healing that we have been going through with her, particularly in a small group, just they're expressing themselves and getting the pain that's there out into the open, and just praying and trusting God to help her. Basira, the one here at the sewing machine, she's from a Muslim background. She was demon-possessed, and a visiting church saw her And they were able, because she was not in her right senses, they were able to say to the parents, let us take your daughter and deliver her from all these demons. And so she came out of a Muslim family and she's not gone back. She lived with a Christian lady who taught her the Bible in Hausa. And she came to us. She couldn't speak a word of English. And she came to us when she was about 16, I think. And she's just leaving now. She's now fluent in English, and she's now been equipped in learning to sew, and she's able to make her own way now. And she's a Christian, and a complete change of life, This one in the middle, Joy, I think I've written about her in my newsletters, you may have noticed. She came to us when she was 14. She's been brought up as a boy in the village. You can see that she is a girl. But at the age of 14, she suddenly started her menstruation and completely freaked out because she had been brought up as a boy. And her family were convinced that she was a boy. I think she's has some elements of male genitalia and some part female. So it's one of those kind of situations. But in a village where there's very limited education, she was just forced to be a boy. And so you can imagine the trauma that this girl has now. She's adapting very well. She's actually made this outfit that I've got the picture of her in here. She's doing well, but she's got all of that background there. So you can start to get a flavor of what these girls, they all live together. These two on the bottom here, Mamaki and Mary. Mamaki is a double orphan. She came to us when she was about 4 years old. She is now about to leave, and she's about 18. I know she looks tiny, but she's a great cook now. She's got some real good skills there, and I hope that she'll be able to set herself up in some business. Mary came from part Muslim, part Christian background. Her mother was very much into witchcraft and into the occult, and so the Christian uncles, took her away from the mother and hid her in our orphanage for a number of years. And now she's just now actually gone back to the family. Now she's finished her program with us. She's now a Christian. Her life is completely different, and she's now able to be independent. Happiness here was accused of being in the secret society, which is this witchcraft, occultic thing. And so her life was in danger. And she is the most lovely girl. And she's been living with us now for maybe 5 years. And even up to now, the family are still feeling that she's a danger to them. They just came recently to ask where she was because they want to have her back and they want to kill her. So she's in hiding with us. And it's all down to superstition and witchcraft, and they're feeling that she's put a curse on the family. And that is a very strong thing in Nigeria. And a lot of our children have come to our ministry because they've been accused falsely of these kind of things, when it's just stubbornness, general teenage behavior. But because everybody lives so close together, I think as soon as somebody says your child is possessed, everybody thinks your child is possessed. And then people try and do horrible things. They try and burn the children. They try and slash them. They try and starve them. They beat them. They do whatever they think is necessary to get the evil out. And so some of these children have had horrendous trauma. And they are now in a safe place. But then once they're in a safe place, these stories come out as part of their teenage growth. And that's why we need to spend a lot of time talking to them. A lot of time just listening. And they take one step back and 2 steps forward, and they just need healing, and they just need the love of Christ. These three here, Priska is a single orphan. Her mother is deaf, and her father was killed by Boko Haram. And people in Nigeria don't do disabilities well. There's no real provision for if you've got a disability, you've just got a disability. And they tend to try and hide people away. But this lady's got 3 children, and she lost her husband, and so we had her, and we had her older brother as well. The one in the middle, Faith, she was sexually abused. She's got a mother somewhere, but she's never had any contact with the mother. She was just being passed around family members and just badly treated. She lives with us. And then this little one, Janet, She's been in our ministry since she was about 5, which is very young. Her father converted to Christianity and the mother left him. The wife left him with a little girl. And he went off to Bible college, and I don't think he's been seen since. So she's grown up with us. She doesn't know anything else. So that's just a few of them. Each of them has a story to tell. And that's why our ministry is so vital, that we can just rescue these children and give them another focus and another chance of life. And that's what we try to do. Why isn't it going? So one of the things we also try and do, I like them to look out. Because living in our ministry, the children they are better off than many of the other people where we are living, because they've had better education and they have all of their needs made. So we try and tithe. We have that principle of tithing. Anytime we get a large donation, we try to give something away. And this lady, this picture here, is one of the ladies in our local neighbours. Her husband left her in a falling down building with 3 children and absolutely nothing. So she was sleeping on the floor with these children, and it's very wet and damp, and it was horrendous. So our girls became conscious of this. They started visiting her. And so we were able to buy her a mattress and some grains, and we also bought her a goat so that she can, I think it was a pregnant goat, so that she can then start to be able to help herself. So that was through the girls' donations. And then every Christmas time, we always do this huge big cookie bake, which I love to do that. And then we go around, this is us carol singing, going around all of the neighbours, handing them all out and making a lot of noise, and everybody welcomes us. And I don't know what they'll do this year because I'm not there. But anyway, sometimes we've run camps for other children in different orphanages. We've done all sorts of different things, running sports activities for local for the local Sunday school children. We try and do whatever we can. I like them to realize that they are a lot better off in our orphanage than some other children. We regularly go through our clothes and give others away. We have a lot of refugees living around us that have come down from the north. So there are many children that are living in absolute poverty. Right, just very quickly. This is some of the progress that has been made. I've already said a lot of this. We've got 2 secondary schools that have started in the last 2 years. We've established our life experience home. These here are pictures of new workshops that we have made. So this is shoemaking, learning how to make shoes from scratch. They make some amazing shoes, totally amazing shoes. Some of them are here. These ones are learning to sew, both men's and women's tailoring. And then these are the boys, they're learning barbing. And also there's a girls section too. And we've got young trainers to try and help them to get established in business. And this is actually one of our old children that's now back training his younger brothers. So we've also started lots of little businesses. We're trying to get the ministry self-sustaining. It's going to take a long time, but we've started keeping goats in some centers, sheep, rabbits, fish. We're growing ginger. We're trying to run shops. We're trying to do all these little things to try and bring money in rather than depending on people giving. It's just going to take us a little while. We've employed some of our graduate children to work in our ministry. We're trying to do a lot of training to make our equipping and empowering the staff that we have, all Nigerian staff, to train them better. And we've also been trying to work on our member care. You know, some of these people that work in our ministry, they 24/7 are with the children, and that is pretty full on. I don't live with the children. I come away and I go in and out. These people are the real heroes. They live with the children. They work with the children all of the time. So we're trying to do some sort of retreats where we're empowering them. So you can see we had a pamper day here, and then here I'm teaching them to cook, and here we're going out for lunch. These ladies have never been to a restaurant until we took them out for lunch. It was like a big treat. So we're trying to do that. We've got over maybe 150 staff, something like that. So there's a lot of them. And then the future, I think this is where we're going to go. Who knows? Only God knows, really. But we want to establish some more workshop business, which I've already said. We want to expand our school buildings, because although it looks like we've got lots of space, we're missing some vital, like we've got boys now, we need some workshops. we need some welding and, all these kind of things, woodwork and all that kind of stuff. And we also need to have more classroom space and more office space. So I think in the future we will build more, but not now. And then the self-sustaining, we need to get those going. We've got maybe 6 goats. We need to get it to where we've got like 20 goats, and so that we're actually making some money out of it. And then much more life skills and outreach opportunities. Our girls now are to the stage where they want to be able to share their faith with others, and that's where we can partner with other bits of city ministries who do go out and do well digging, or they go and immunize the cows, or they go out, and the girls can go along and play with the children and have opportunities to share their testimonies, which they need to practice. So that's where we're going in the future. So, Ian, do you want to come and talk so I don't have to talk? So this is where we're thinking, okay, what can you do to help us in this ministry? Now, you're already as a church doing quite a bit in sending this man here. Everybody loves Farmer Ian. All the girls are saying, say hello to Ian, say hello to Ian. And it's a real encouragement when somebody comes and just gets alongside the children and just try and train them in whatever they know, and just to encourage them, really, just to encourage them. So we're already, I know as a church you're supporting Alex, who you saw in the video. He's our farm manager, and Ian is in touch with him all the time. And so one of the things that we want to try and raise money for is this solar water project. So you can talk about that.
I'm encouraged by this. Things have changed a lot since I was last there 2 years ago. And as you're saying, with the harvest, the maize harvest, that looks really, a significant move forward, which is exciting. The site at Bassa is blessed with a stream that runs around the edge of it, two sides of the perimeter. It's blessed because it's got a borehole as well, which supplies the water for the girls, the residential needs, and also can be used for the farming. But to get the water out of the borehole and into the header tanks costs money. It's normally run by the mains electricity, which is erratic and expensive now. Again, with inflation, the prices have gone up. There's a diesel generator backup as well. So, but the cost of diesel has gone up. So it's an expensive operation to get water, out of the borehole into the tanks, and because of that, there's sometimes challenges between where the water goes. Alex and myself, where we've been involved with the farming, we want to irrigate our crops, but obviously the girls have got priority. So there's tensions, and they want to wash their clothes and wash their hair. What's that about? So one initiative that I'd love for us to be able to sponsor from here is to set up a solar power water system, which will involve putting a new borehole and solar powered pumps and another header tank. And the advantage of that, obviously, if we get it right, we should be able to pump sufficient water for the girls, low cost pumping. We should also have sufficient resource to pump header tanks that we can then do drip irrigation from, which is more efficient use of water. One of the limitations, the site is totally blessed that they can do dry season farming. And the dry season farming goes from about now through to February, really. This last season, the crops, they had tomatoes and pepper they had to stop harvesting because they haven't got enough water. In February, I think it was, they had to, the river had run dry and it was too expensive to pump from the borehole. And so the idea, if we can get a solar power system, it means we can extend the growing season as well. the estimate that I've had from Alex has done some costings for me, and I think the budget for it is to get the borehole, to get the pump, to get a header tank installed, is of the order of £3,000. For me, that's a no-brainer investment, really. And so we're presenting that to you tonight. Nicky will tell you about the other needs there.
Thank you. Am I going to get shocked?
I don't think so.
No, it's all right. I'll go. Gotcha. So that's the first challenge, which is £3,000. And then every Christmas, I know last year you heard about this, and as a church you were able to raise quite a bit of money towards this. This is the Christmas clothing. We don't have money to buy our children new clothes, except for we try and do it once a year. So once a year we try and get them shirt, trousers, and trainers or whatever, so it's like a complete set. And that's all they would like for Christmas. They don't care about toys. They like to eat chicken. They do like to eat meat. But besides that, it's traditional in Nigeria to have a new set of clothes for Christmas. So we have about 350 children, and I'm saying there about £10 per child would kit them out. Last year, we told them that there was, because of COVID, we didn't have lots of visitors, and we didn't have maybe some of the things that we would normally have. And so all of the girls, everybody was praying like mad that God would send money so that they could have new clothes. And we told them that there was no money, there was no money. There wasn't any money until quite late on, we heard that there was a large donation that came from here. And so they were so delighted. They were jumping up and down. And they all had their money, and they went off to the market, and they selected what they wanted. And it was the best thing for them. So we would like to see if we can go somewhere towards that. It doesn't have to be all of it. All of these things, we're working towards them. And then every year we like to buy grain when it's at its cheapest, which is at the end of the year when everybody's harvested, because you get better value for your money. We buy these massive big sacks of rice and maize and beans, and then they last the children. They use them all year round. Now, we have grown, say, 6 months of maize, but we've not grown any rice and we've not grown any beans because of the capacity of where we are. So some centers will have grown rice, and so they don't need rice and they need the maize. It works like that. So most of the meals that they have rice and maize and beans. Our children don't ever really have meat except for Christmas time or special occasions, or if there's a visitor coming, and then they have one piece about this big on their thing. So it's not that they eat extravagantly or anything like that, but just to buy these grains, it normally costs us about £40,000 probably for all the centres. So I've put here roughly it's about £100 a child for a year in the grains, which that's not too much when you look at it like that. But these are the things that we want to work towards, trying to see if we could fund. And then, obviously, a big thing you can do is to pray. I know that not everybody can go to Nigeria. Maybe a few people will go, but we can all pray. And particularly, we need to pray for security at this moment in time. I know I've sent some messages, and I know a lot of you have read about kidnapping that's going on. There's a lot of Fulani herdsman conflict, particularly in our area around Jos, all around the plateau. The Fulani are the nomadic people with the cows. They're the only ones that keep cows. And they like to go, obviously, where the grass is or where the crops are. But they let their cows go into the farms of the local farmers and start eating their things. Then the farmers don't like that. The farmers get angry and kill the cows. And to a Fulani, a cow is more important than a person. So if you kill their cow, they're going to come back at you, and they will kill two people for one cow, something like that. And it just goes on, this cycle of revenge. And then, unfortunately, the Fulani are now armed. And who knows where they've got their arms from, but the president of our country is the Fulani too. And so there is all these rumors, who knows, I don't know what's true. But the Fulani have got much more vicious, if you like, in their attacks, and that they will come and just shoot people as well. It's quite barbaric, and yeah, I'm not going into details, but it's not very good. So Boko Haram is in the north, doing its thing there. You've got all these groups doing kidnapping, which is horrendous. Coming in and kidnapping. You've heard of the Chibok girls there was like 200 girls that were taken, and most of them have come back except for Leah Schreiber, who is still in captivity because she didn't want to denounce Christ. She was just 15 years old. Our ministry has been supporting her brother and her family and the other girls that were in the school with her. We're all involved in all of these things. But kidnapping, particularly in Kaduna State, which is next to us, has been really bad recently. And they're just going into universities, into schools, and just taking hundreds of people at once. And it's all for money. It's all for money. And particularly, we need to pray for all of us expats that are there too. We are targets because they think we have money. And so, yes. And for the children in our centers, that God will keep protecting them. And financially, we need donors constantly. We have fees to pay for school. We have staff to pay. We have buildings that need maintaining, all of these things. And then spiritually, we have a lot of attacks from Satan. Satan does not like our ministry. And he's always throwing everything he can at us, whether it's sickness, whether it's our children doing exactly the opposite that we would like them to do, or not growing in their own faith enough, or corruption somewhere that we would, sometimes the staff are not all that they should be, and things like this. I think there's just all sorts of little attacks, and we just need to keep praying that God will protect us and that spiritually that our children will grow. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, I think we would like to spend a little time praying, if we may, and Ian is going to lead us in that.
One way or another, I'll lead you. Just to encourage you with the prayer works. We have a Wednesday morning prayer meeting. Through lockdown, it's been Zoom meeting. Again, my focus is farming, and so I've been looking at the pictures of the harvest. I've been in communication with Alex regularly. The harvest this year, as we've saying, looks like a bumper harvest. At the time of planting, in the start of the rainy season, the rains didn't happen. What normally happens is that they don't wait for just the first drop of rain. They wait until you get a substantial rain that softens the ground, and then you put your maize in. If you don't get any follow-up rains, then your maize will germinate and then it can die. And that was the scenario for Bassa this April time. They put the maize in, they had a good rain, and then there was a delay with the next rain. We were praying. Jean was there. We were praying. And I know you guys will have been praying out there. Praying. There was a shower. I'll call it a shower, African shower. There was enough rain, came just at the right time to wet that germinated maize, and then subsequently that's grown on. Farmers locally missed that first window, and the subsequent rains weren't sufficient to sustain the crop. We've been blessed. I'm saying we because this is us. We're in this together, aren't we? We're in this together. We've been blessed, and God is good. He hears our prayer. We're praying into the security aspects, and we need to keep praying. The financial, the needs, if you add all those sums, there's quite a lot of money that, we could write a check, and you think, well, where's that coming from? It's coming from our Father, isn't it? And as we call upon Him, the windows of heaven will be opened up. And And we know we're not wrestling against flesh and blood. The challenges from the Fulani, the challenges from the horrendous stuff that's going on. It's not flesh and blood. It's the powers and principalities. It's the powers of darkness. But we have an authority in Jesus that we can draw upon. But we must activate that. We must pray it in. We must, it's not a foregone. We must be proactive in our prayer, in our intercession. Paul continually says, or regularly says, pray continuously. Pray continuously. This is not just a one prayer, but let's continue to pray. we've got a few minutes, and there's different ways we can approach this. You want to do it Nigerian? I was going to say the Nigerian. Yeah.
If you can. And you can choose any of these to pray for.
Yeah.
And everybody prays out loud all at the same time. Not to me.
No.
God. So, and then we round it all up.
Can I? So this could get a bit chaotic. That's why I hesitated. That's why I hesitated. But I think there will be a power in this praying. One of the we know in Romans 8 it talks about we don't know how to pray. We don't know all the ins and outs of these situations. We don't know the keys that will unlock it. We don't know all the detail. But we can have a heart to pray, can't we? But Romans 8 says that when we don't know how to pray, the Holy Spirit helps us with groans that cannot be uttered, with a yearning that comes from deep within. So for those, I would encourage you, if you're familiar with praying in tongues, using the tongue, the language that the Lord has given you, or the prayer language that the Lord has given you, don't hesitate. Let's not be bashful. Let's not be shy. Let's just use the resources that the Lord has given us to unlock situations for people's lives. I'll start praying, and but let's just keep praying. Pick. Yeah. Amen. 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 Amen.
So just lastly, one thing I was just going to say is all of the pictures that you see, all of the buildings, all of the structure, that's all down to God's miracles. We don't have anything. We didn't have anything. We had absolutely no money. It's all come because God has connected us with this person or that person, and God has just provided. And so God is able to do measurably more than we can imagine. So I know it sounds like a lot when you're saying we've got to raise £40,000, but that's nothing to God. And time after time, he just shows us that he is looking after. These are his children. They're not mine. And our ministry belongs to him, not to me. And so we just need you to keep praying for us and to partner with us in whatever way you can. So thank you for listening. And have a good evening.